There is a type of creature in the world. They were discovered by a few people. However, its existence has not been confirmed. We collectively refer to these organisms as Unidentified Mysterious Animal, Unidentified Organism, abbreviation UMA. Hello everyone, welcome to the UMA video series. If we say this world, which place is most likely to exist? Large species yet to be discovered by humans. That is undoubtedly our vast ocean. See monster sightings from all over the world. Many losses, like the sea serpent shape we talked about before. Many strangely shaped giant-headed families, etc. These are full of separation, strange stories and eyewitness accounts. It constantly inspires people's curiosity and desire to explore. And what I want to share with you today, it is yet another unusual and unique category of sea monsters, giant jellyfish. Giant jellyfish, as the name suggests, it can be simplified. Simply put, it can be understood as something beyond human cognition. Large invertebrate zooplankton. The word itself, generally used to refer to what is currently known, the world's largest jellyfish species, Arctic jellyfish, also known as the missing jellyfish. Its umbrella-shaped body has a maximum diameter. It can reach about 2.5 meters. The tentacles can reach a terrifying 36 meters. However, the giant jellyfish mentioned in this video, its size may be several times that of the missing jellyfish, even more than 10 times. Imagine a huge predator that preys on large fish and contains highly poisonous underwater creatures. What kind of image should it be? 1957, British science fiction writer Eric Frank Russell. It includes a series of unusual phenomena that challenge the attack system. Compile them into a book titled The Great Mystery of the World. This is one of his few non-fiction works. In the book, there is a piece of art specifically themed around sea monsters. It also mentioned a story from 1953. A man named Christopher Loop, Australian divers, working in the South Pacific. Eyewitness reports of encounters with giant sea monsters. The staff member's exact words were as follows: "A 15-foot-long shark. He has been wandering around me, but he did not attempt to attack me. I kept wondering how deep he would dive. He was about 30 feet away from me. He was hovering about 20 feet taller than me. Then I came to the foot of a protruding rock. It is an unfathomable deep crack. Continuing to descend is dangerous. I stood there gazing down into the abyss. The shark was waiting for my next move. The water suddenly became noticeably colder. When the water temperature drops at an alarming rate, I saw a black object rising from the darkness of the abyss, floating upwards very slowly. When the last rays of light shone on him, I can see it was a huge, dark brown object. The hole is flat, jagged edges. It is estimated that there will be a great hero. He throbbed slowly, although his limbs or eyes were not visible. But I know he is a living being. The terrifying shadow was still moving when he floated past my height. The cold has become extremely intense. I don't know if it was because the water temperature was too low or because of fear. The shark hung there motionless. Just as I was engrossed in reading, the enormous brown creature approached the shark, and it made contact with its upper surface. The shark immediately began to convulse and tremble. Without any resistance, they were sucked into the monster's body. I stood rooted to the spot, too afraid to move, and that brown object seemed to be him rising from the water. It sank into the abyss as slowly as time itself, disappeared into the darkness. At this point, the water temperature also began to gradually recover. God knows what this is, but I have no doubt he came from the primordial silt beneath countless heroes. 1968, a diver from the Chilean Hydrographic Expedition Team. It also describes a similar experience in 1969. Soviet writers, chemist Mikhail Yemtsev and Ermi Parnov, meeting with witnesses in France, they interviewed the latter and its process. Detailed records are found in their book's 3 cross-curricular sections. However, due to the article, so it is a first-person narrative. Here I will summarize its key points. There were 7 of them back then, boarding a research vessel called the Stargazer, heading to Inagua Island in the Bahamas, only in research. Isotopic composition of different water bodies, effects on animal metabolism. When they dived to a place deep enough, a leopard shark slowly swam towards the diver, a bald shark followed behind, and a school of fish that looked like they were fleeing. Just then, the incident happened. The eyewitness's exact words were as follows: "Everything happened in a matter of seconds. I didn't even have time to use the walkie-talkie," warning the team members of the impending danger. "I saw that thing, a huge brown object. The edges are dark blue, like a jellyfish. They slowly swam up from the depths, like a layer of dirty, impenetrable fog. He covered all the blue. It seemed to envelop everything without end. I'm worried that my estimated dimensions are wrong. Its size clearly exceeds 1 square kilometer. The trembling, charred body had bubbles shimmering on it, slightly sinking into the distant mud. His edges resembled a giant, grotesque weapon made of powder. Swaying slowly, he rose slowly from the abyss like a ghost. It is the silent embodiment of terror. I know what happened. I also saw everything. But my body is just like the surroundings. It was frozen in time, unable to move. Sharks will also be there." The brown object suddenly stopped, suspended at the bottom of the shark. Immediately afterwards, it was as if an electric current had struck everything. All the fish were bent. Her body convulsed and trembled as she slowly sank in. The bubbling object looked like a cup of sugar, melted into the jelly. Seeing this, the witness was instantly struck by a force, overwhelmed by unspeakable fear. He said, "I couldn't even lift a single finger at that time. All I could see was complete darkness, arrhythmia. The body becomes uncontrollable." He bent down, slowly falling into the abyss. When he woke up in the Moscow hospital, 2 months have passed. He remained in a coma throughout this period. Captain Genya told him the rescued team's modest was unconscious. When it descended to a depth of about 10 meters, he caught up with him. At that moment, his teeth were clenched tightly around his drooping mouth. Body spasms caused breathing difficulties, including the captain. Those who went to the rescue all saw that. A huge brown monster. I brought those paralyzed fish. It slowly sank into the crack. When the divers were rescued onto the ship, the captain made an immediate decision to attack the thing with a bomb. However, the result did not cause it sufficient damage. The gap torn open by the explosion slowly closed. In the end, only dead fish remained scattered on the surface of the water. 1974 American paranormal investigator Richard Winner in his writing, the book Devil's Triangle Records, November 1969. He was working for the United States at the time. General Electric Company conducted underwater filming work for marine research projects about 14 miles south of Bermuda, 30 to 40 feet deep. He saw the thing that had puzzled him for years. It was already close to evening that day. Dim light shone down through the sea. It appears distorted. He had just finished filming the movement of an instrument buoy. I've used up the last roll of film. At this time, his safety officer, Pat Portret, grabbed his shoulder and pointed downwards. Immediately afterwards, he saw that enormous deep-sea creature. Leonard's original words were as follows: "I witnessed a shocking scene. I can't say how deep it is. I don't know how old he is. He's probably about 100 feet below us. It could also be 150 feet deep. I can only roughly estimate its size. It might be 100 feet wide, or it might be 75 feet, but its diameter will definitely not be less than 50 feet. It presented a perfect deep purple circle. It is slowly moving towards us. His edges are pink and slow fluctuations. but the water flow did not change. When we start to rise, he also stopped rising. Then it slowly descends, returned to the dark depths of the sea. We watched him silently until he disappeared. A long time has passed. They have been unable to confirm. What kind of creature is that? Pat speculated that it was a giant squid. But until one day, Richard Winner, in the Majuli Horse head of the Mazer Island, I saw a group of jellyfish. Only then did he realize the enormous creature he had encountered that day. Just like the behavior of jellyfish. Later, regarding this incident, he accepted an interview with an American cryptozoologist, interview with Kalimantan's Kopler, and finally, this drawing of the creature was completed. The year has come to the 21st century. Russian journalist and writer Vlad Belanov in 2010, The Secret Art of the Four Oceans, a series of events including the one mentioned above, giant invertebrate sighting, included. It also mentioned May 1990. Russia points to MEI. Reports of mass deaths of marine animals are rampant. Environmentalists from various places. This incident was attributed to a submarine that was concealed by the meteor. The accident may have occurred in the sea in the direction of a certain country's military, caused by dumping chemicals. Leningrad. Biologists at the Institute of Water Temperature and Meteorology, an independent examination was conducted on the body. The conclusion is the death of these marine creatures. It was affected by some kind of biological toxin. Russian domestic. There is currently no chemical industry that produces such toxins. Soon it will be 1991 and 1992. Many regions around the world, including the Canadian coast, North Carolina, USA, Gulf of Mexico, and Sea of Japan, similar things happen. Massive deaths of fish and marine life. Scientists ultimately attributed this to a certain undiscovered sea creatures. Although it may be due to the Russian literature I was looking for, the data is misdirected, or the strictness of the standards. I couldn't find any relevant reports from that year and expert papers. But if there really are researchers to reach such a conclusion, in light of the destructive actions humans have taken against the ocean in recent years, in my personal opinion, throwing the blame to a company that can operate worldwide, unknown creatures that disrupt the ecosystem, obviously this is not convincing. In addition, Vlad Belanov also wrote in the book, a report in French media in 2005. The report mentioned French diver Henry Astor signed a contract with a Thai company, invited to work in the Gulf of Thailand. That day, he and his companions rode in a special protective dragon. They descended to a depth of approximately 80 meters from the mothership. They stopped diving only when they saw a group of large fish. Just then, they noticed a strange phenomenon only in the abyss below, a strange brown object of unimaginable size. It is slowly rising towards the direction of the school of fish. When he reached a point 10 to 15 meters away from the school of fish, the fish suddenly started behaving strangely. Some individuals suddenly became stiff, then roll over and turn to the side. The brown substance slowly sank. Immediately afterwards, all the fish around them met the same fate. Henry's partner disregarded his objections. We decided to go downstream a little closer to see what was happening. But 15 minutes later, he still did not return. Henry immediately sounded the alarm when the rescuers descended to their position. Nothing was found. That huge brown thing, it has already sunk into the depths of the sea. They even had the diver's body. Did not find. And these are eyewitness reports about giant jellyfish. In fact, for the current situation, known eyewitnesses about giant jellyfish. Was what I saw actually a jellyfish? At this point, the opinions of the relevant scholars are not unified. Editor of the International Foster Organization Journal, Paul Willis, in a magazine in 1972, the 1953 Christopher Loop Witness Incident. The article provides an analysis. He believes that although the date marked on the event is 1953, However, based on the eyewitness accounts we have now, this is the editor's version of Professor Russell's original text, the reduced version of the offering. Therefore, we are unable to verify much information, but he believes this incident cannot be entirely dismissed as fiction because of the creature described by the eyewitness. It sounds like an umbrella that lives in the deep sea, giant individuals of the octopus, the above-mentioned mysterious zoologist home of Mancini. The work clearly states, giant jellyfish near Bermuda. It is possible. He believes that despite the size of the organism, limited by multiple factors, however, judging from the jellyfish species discovered, theoretically, it is indeed possible that there is a larger one, and jellyfish types that have not yet been discovered by humans, cryptozoologist Dr. Carl Schuck believes. Ricard, the divers did not see any signs of tentacles in the creature. Some hedgehogs, in particular, deep-sea species, did not make a move. The shark's sudden paralysis. You can also use the toxic font of giant jellyfish. Let me explain it here. A similar species was specifically mentioned, abyssal jellyfish. This is a very rare large jellyfish. Belongs to the young deficient jellyfish family, unable to make a move in the Pacific, cold waters around the North Atlantic and Antarctica. All were discovered. The umbrella-shaped body is both wide and thin. The largest individual diameter discovered to date, reaching about 1 meter. A large number of samples were distributed on the surface, secondary bodies and cilia. Unlike the moon jellyfish we commonly see, no species in the genus abyssal jellyfish made a move. They generally, the prey is wrapped by the extensibility of the granular structure, then kill it with the test subject. This creature, they generally live at depths of around 500 to 1,800 meters, low-light mesosphere waters. In terms of morphology and habits, giant jellyfish seen by eyewitnesses, apart from body size differences. Indeed, it is extremely similar to the elemental jellyfish. And mentioning spiky animals, cryptozoologist Professor Chad Mont, in the 2000 North American Rehabilitation Review, a document was mentioned, report from an internet news group. The author of the article recounted the story of his deceased friend, George Hale, in the 1970s, underwater welder working for Gulf Oil Company, working on an oil drilling platform in the Gulf of Mexico. I once saw a giant creature that I couldn't describe. Invertebrates, for that creature's size, humans are like ants. That was the first time he had ever seen something like that. It was also the last time I felt fear. This was the first helicopter he boarded on his return journey. He never saw the sea again after that. Per's description, the predator's coloration and texture resembled those of a sea anemone. Its shape is similar to a starfish or aquatic creature. This incident, describing except another unknown giant species besides jellyfish, Cyanadaria. In fact, considering all the known information mentioned above, I believe the giant jellyfish sighting is credible. The extent needs to be considered. However, the possibility that such a creature exists still exists. First, all eyewitness accounts. I don't think the source is very clear. I couldn't find any original reports or detailed records of interviewee information. Original manuscript of data from 1953. Missing information on key personnel in the 1968 events. The Plum Blossom archives mentioned in the 2010 documents, etc. All these events, it felt like hearing a legend record the stories he heard from him. Of course, this may be due to my personal access restrictions, or it could be due to information asymmetry caused by some historical issues. But I still feel that a crucial element is missing, and to say that this kind of creature may exist, because I think jellyfish, its environmental adaptability is strong enough, almost all around the world. They have also been found in waters of various depths. Furthermore, the ecological behavior of certain populations is quite remarkable. Species like the Tortopsis dohrnii, through water, reverse development between the sucker and the jellyfish. theoretically it makes. Able to avoid external factors, achieve immortality. Moreover, jellyfish, it is one of the oldest and most spectacular animals on Earth. Modern research shows this creature existed as early as 700 million years ago. Even earlier in ancient times, she knew on existed an ancient enough evolutionary history. Amazing biological properties. In addition, the vast ocean's inclusiveness. We have reason to believe a giant jellyfish population. Maybe they live there, beneath the abyss yet to be explored by humankind. Of course, this is just my personal speculation, but I also believe, with the continuous development and progress of human civilization, sooner or later, we can overcome difficulties and risks of deep-sea exploration. Truly, these are the most mysterious places on Earth. Alright, in the end, it still comes down to the saying that the unknown is always greater than the known. This is also the charm of humor. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching.